Hey y'all, welcome to the Honesty Circle. It is me, your host, Sierra Elise, and I hope you're taking care of not only your spiritual and mental health, but I hope you're taking care of your emotional and physical health so you can be your best self this week. Today's episode is going to be 10 tips in getting started and tackling the Bible. So I'm going to be the first to say this. For me, when I first started reading the Bible, or even thinking about reading the Bible, I was completely intimidated by the language of it, by the vastness of it. It just was kind of just a scary book that I was like, okay, I'm not sure what to do with it. So I'm going to give you 10 tips that helped me start getting into the Bible and also have helped me continue my learning and reading of the Word. So let's jump in with the tips. Tip number 1, pray first. Pray about what you can learn from the scripture and also ask God to help you understand the scripture. When you also pray to God before you pick up a Bible and start reading, He can also guide you into a specific scripture in which He wants you to read. Tip number 2, find a version or translation that you understand. It's completely okay to not read the King James Version that you hear in church and where they say big words and the sentences make barely any sense. If that's not your level of understanding, then don't read it. I personally like to read the NIV, which is the New International Version, and I sometimes switch it up and read the New King James Version, but there's so many different versions out there. Just a couple examples that I think are on the easier side to understand for me are the Message, the English Standard Version, and the New Living Translation. But if you look in the Bible app, under translations, there's so many different types and you can pick and choose which one is your favorite. Tip number 3 is that you don't have to start at the beginning and you don't have to go in order. Yes, the Bible is a whole book. However, the book itself isn't even in chronological order. There's books and there's chapters within, and each one has a story. So I personally like to start with the shorter books of the Bible, and then I jump around kind of what I hear the message from on Sunday. It's like, okay, I don't understand this story, so I'm going to read that chapter so I can understand the background and what's going on. So like I said, you don't have to follow the order from Genesis all the way back to Revelations. You can go and pick wherever you want to start. Tip number 4 is to read it as if it's a story. This is probably the best piece of advice I think I could give, because when I started to read the Bible as if it was a story or just a book that I just read for pleasure, it really made me and helped me understand what was going on, because I saw it as characters with a problem and there's a lesson. And that's kind of how books are oriented. There's a plot and there's a storyline, and that's really how the Bible is too. Tip number 5 is to don't just read the words on the page, but understand what's going on. So basically, don't just mindlessly read the Bible and just, I'm just reading it to read it, but actually try to make connections and understand what is happening. When you do this, it helps understand things in context. And so those verses in which you know off the top of your head or that you've heard before, when you read it in the context of the story and actually understand the whole context, it honestly, for me, makes it hit even more. I'm like, wow, that verse just changes its meaning or ups the meaning of that verse because I understand where that piece came from. Tip number 6 is to take notes as you read. This, for me, helps me understand what's going on because I can keep track of names, who they are, what events are connected to them, and it also helps me connect them to future stories at which I read. Tip number 7, if you have questions or you're confused about something, seek those outside sources for information and to answer those questions. There's so much literature out there to help you understand the Bible. And so when you first start out reading and stuff, you probably won't understand what's going on. And so using those sources will help you figure out and understand the context and the history behind the different verses in which you're reading. I personally like to use Enduring Word Commentary. It's a website and I can access it wherever I am. And it also gives you the scriptures right there, and it gives you bullet points under, in which highlights and break down and expand upon different things that are in the verses. Tip number 8, read it with a friend. Everything is better when you're doing it with a friend, and reading the Bible gives you accountability. It also gives you someone to discuss and break down the readings with. Different people pick up different things while reading, and it's nice to discuss those things that stood out to you when discussing the Bible. Tip number 9 is to have scheduled Bible time in your day. It doesn't have to be a long, extensive period of time. It can be 10 to 15 minutes in which you just crack open that Bible and dig in the Word. Having a scheduled time is important because it will help you make a habit and be consistent in it. I personally do every night before I go to bed, and that just helps me in my day and clear my mind from the day. And it's so important to have that Bible time because the Bible is our foundation, and it also is guidance for us. We are learning about who God is and what He has done. Being in the Word is so important to making sure that we are feeding and guiding our spirits on a daily basis. Tip number 10, think about things you can take away from the story. There's so many lessons in the Bible, but it goes deeper than just knowing and being able to identify what that lesson is. Identifying what you can take away means not just knowing the lesson from the story, but thinking of how it can apply to your life and asking the question, what does this reveal about God? You don't just want to read the Word, but you also want to live the Word. And thinking of what you can take away from the story will help you live out the Word. This last part is just a freebie. I suggest that everyone get the Bible app and make a YouVersion account. This app has so much to offer, and many people don't even know. First is that you can highlight verses, and it's also easy to go back and look at all the things that you have highlighted. There's also a notes feature in which you can select the scripture in which you're talking about and make a note and make connections and just type whatever you want in that section. But like I said earlier, there's so many versions and translations available to you, and you can also download them to have access to them at any time. Additionally, you have access to so many different devotion plans, and it is also easy to search whatever devotional topic or whatever you want. There's ones that you can break down the whole Bible. There's ones that break down just different books in the Bible. There's ones about topics like love, anxiety, depression. There's so many just different devotion plans that you have access to. Lastly, I want to share my favorite feature that they have, and that's being able to add your friends. It gives you a space where you can see their activity, you can see their highlights, you can see their notes. You can also see what plans they have done. Another feature that they have with your friends is being able to add them to a plan with you. I love this feature. After you do the devotional and read the scripture, there's a place that they call Talk It Over. And that just gives you comment section in which you can just share your thoughts and just add on whatever pieces you want to talk about with your friend. This app truly has so much to offer, and I suggest that you guys all download it if you don't already have it. This week's 2 Cents is one of my favorite albums to play while I'm spending time in the Word, and that album is Make Room by Jonathan McReynolds. This album is one of my favorites because it reminds me to create a space for God in my life no matter what is going on. So I definitely think you guys should check it out, or not, that's just my 2 cents. That's all I have for today. Thanks so much for listening. If you hear anything that you like, be sure to subscribe and share with a friend. You can also follow us on Instagram at The Honesty Circle with the _ at the end. Thanks again so much for listening, and go conquer your week.